There we go. How's it going, everybody? This is Carpo back again. It looks like my hair's a little froey. This is going to be part 5, the final installment in this questions and answers videos. I uploaded the previous 4 so I could make space on my memory card so I could finish the last one. And I hope that my answers were satisfactory. It took me a long time, and it's kind of funny. It's like somebody said that some people are interested in hearing, stories, because I mentioned that I don't like to tell stories because I say, who cares about my life, right? But on the other hand, I'm using the example that I've had in my life, that maybe I just didn't care enough about other people's lives. I mean, I've never been that interested in what's going on, not because I don't care about people, but because I feel like no amount of exploration with a person can really put me in their shoes or understand why people do the things they are. And it kind of goes back to the video I made the other day about not knowing too much about your favorite artists. That goes for friends too, and family. The more we learn about people, the more that that we might find a flaw, perhaps. And maybe that's why I don't open up. I really don't know. I mean, I self-analyze constantly, and I don't know why I don't talk about certain things. Maybe it's just because it seems like it's in the past. And I'll tell you, it's only been in the last few years that I've really analyzed the past of my life in great detail and asked why I am the way I am, and how much my father dying affected me, and having events in my life, and going to jail, getting in trouble, and having children. Which brings me to the first question on the last of the list, which is from, this is from onmydonaldtrumpshit. That's the name. What's the best part about having children, and have you ever been to Utah? Well, no, I've never been to Utah. No, I've never been to Utah. I think I've been right in the corner of the Utah area, but I've never actually been to Utah, so I can say nothing about it. But what's the best part about having children? I could give you one of those bullshit parent answers that it's rewarding, and that children are the light of your life, but I can also give you the truth of the matter, which is that children are wonderful, and at the same time, a complete pain in the ass and a nuisance to somebody who wants to live their life. Now, I only say that because you don't have children in hopes that they're going to better you. You have children because it's just what we do. Sometimes people feel like they're obligated to have kids. Sometimes people have kids by accident. And in a way, that's kind of what happened for my wife and I. We never really intended on having kids, but we'd never intended on not having kids. We discussed it. And then once she got pregnant one time, and then she got pregnant again. And now we have 3 instead of my first son. Was 3 when we met, and he's my son Raceland. So, but that moment in the last 6 years that we've been through with the 2 young ones, brothers, 3 years apart, fucking nuisance. My brother and I were the same way. We drove my parents nuts, I'm sure, and I can't even imagine the kind of crap they had to go through. But you set aside all that negativity. In other words, I'm making this point to say that your kids could be a complete hassle all day long and fight and bicker and cry. And you could get so frustrated with them. And then 2 minutes later, they're like, "Yeah, Papa, I love you." And it all melts away. If you really love your kids, which most people do, then all of that just goes by the wayside. You just they're just kids. But so this is a long way of answering the question, I guess. What's the best part about having children? I don't know what the best part is, but for me, it would be knowing that I'm raising somebody in this world that's going to respect my opinion. And this opens it up to whether my opinion is valid. And this is kind of where I have a hard time saying, should I raise my children to not value money? Or should I raise my children to obsess over money? Of course, it's going to be neither, somewhere in the middle. Somebody once said, what if your kids decide they want to be millionaires and they want to be rich and they want to go to college and do all these things? And I would say, that wasn't a question. Somebody said, are you saving for your kids' college fund? And I said, no, if they want to go to college, they'll figure it out. And he's like, that's harsh, And I was like, well, it's not my job to save for my children's education. As much as a person would totally disagree with that, it's your job to educate your child until they're of the age where they can decide what they want to do. I mean, why should a parent have to pay for their kids' college tuition and when they can't afford it? And that's, I guess maybe that's because I didn't go to college, but I didn't really ever find the need for it. And I see what college is doing to my friends and people who try to stand up for it by saying, well, it's great to get a college education and I love going to school. And then a year later, they're complaining about their student debt loans. And maybe it's just because of my grim view of it. But I guess what I'm saying in a nutshell is that you treat your kids with respect. You teach them how to respect you and hope that that's enough. The next question is from Jacob William Scott. He says, what do you think about video games? Not much. I don't think that they're a bane to humanity, that they're causing kids to be more angry, violent, or aggressive. No, I don't. I hear the same bullshit they put out with heavy metal music when I was a kid. You know, that's rotting your brain, Metallica, and all these bands, you know, they're just screaming. They don't even have lyrics. And I started listening to it, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, they have lyrics. They have more than lyrics. They have meaning behind them, and they're political, and they're showing the corruption in the world. Well, video games are doing the same thing in many regards. But I'm not going to stand up or put them down. What I'm going to say is video games are like any other hobby. You have to know when to say when and walk away. When I was young, I played Atari because that's all we had. We'd play Asteroids, Donkey Kong, Jumpman Jr. was one of my favorite games. Stupid, simple games. But when somebody finally got a Nintendo, I was always too poor to have any systems that, like a Nintendo, you know, until years later. I don't even think I ever really owned a Nintendo. But I had a ColecoVision and an Atari. So anyway, getting into modern days, I lived with my friend when I was about 17, 18. And he got this game called, what was it? It was just in my head. Now I forgot it. It was a zombie game. It was like the first one. Damn it. They made movies about it and everything. Anyway, we started playing this game, and we played it for like a week straight, every day, sun up to sundown. I mean, we were obsessed with this game. You'd find this thing. I remember we were so out of it once, I found this thing on the wall, and it said, do you want to take the broken shotgun? And I couldn't even see the word broken, because I was like, what's a broken shotgun? Because I was so into the game, I wasn't even thinking clearly. Anyway, then I would walk outside, and everything would seem like the video game. And this is something that every gamer learns, that you need to know when to step away. If you play Tetris for 5 days and you walk outside, everything's going to look like Tetris. And what video games did for me, and this is kind of what I'm getting at, the positive aspect, is that they showed me that if you delve into something deep enough, long enough, you will start to find fucking patterns in everything that resemble what you think you know. And after that video game experience, I realized and asked myself, how many people out there do this with conspiracy theories, with political views, with racism, religion, all these different things, where they're so immersed in a particular pattern for so long that that's all they see. So that's a weird roundabout way of saying, yes, positive impact from video games if it's taken the right way. But I can't say that sitting and playing video games all day in the dark room is healthy at all. I think it's a bad thing, and people need to find other joys besides just playing games. So it comes down to how often do you game. And so I hope that answers that question. The next question is from, Vladivostok. Vladivostok? I hope I pronounced that right. What are your experiences and feelings towards Kava Kava? That's an interesting one. It's been about 6 years since I had Kava, honestly, and I've been interested in delving back into it. I was ordering it for a while, and I was trying to order the lecithins as an emulsifier. I believe you need to have lecithin, and it makes the emulsion, which helps it to absorb better. Anyway, making emulsions and brewing up this nasty concoction and drinking it was, I had the cheesecloth and everything, and I would do the whole process. But it was similar to a feeling of, relaxation, like with alcohol, a little bit here and there, but I don't really, I'd like to start over and try it again. But it's kind of another one of those things. I have enough herbs in my life. Kava Kava has replaced alcohol in a lot of parts of the world. They have kava bars, of course, down in Florida and towards Cuba, and I believe that this carried on. I think this started in the Pacific, but I'm not sure. But a lot of places drink kava instead of alcohol because it lowers inhibitions and allows you to more freely think. And so I think it's a great herb. I just don't have a lot of experience with it. So the next question, and I'm almost done with these. I have like 4 or 5 more. This one's from mrbladedude. I'm spacing off here. I can't read. Favorite forest close to the Oregon-Washington border? Also, does your beard itch? I grew mine out not quite so long and it itched constantly. My favorite forest close to the Oregon-Washington border, that's easy. That would be, well, I guess I can't even name the forest. It's not Malheur. No, it's not. Basically, I don't have a favorite forest because around here they're all divided by invisible lines, of course. I have favorite areas. My favorite area is the Mount Adams Wilderness. I have other places I can go that are closer. That place is phenomenal. There's something very special about it. Beyond all the alien or UFO and Bigfoot sightings people have talked about. People have all kinds of weird theories about, and of course mountains possess a certain spiritual nature, if you want to call it that. There's something majestic, and they seem to offer a shelter, not literally, but physically, or like mentally, kind of like being at a mountain puts you in that company of an elder, okay, if you will. But anyway, Mount Hood is one of my favorite places. Mount Shasta is beautiful, but Mount Adams by far is still the best wilderness I know of. As for the beard itching part, oh man, no, my beard doesn't itch. But when I wake up in the morning, the mustache part is what's driving me nuts. It'll like push into my lip, and I used to shave it off right at the top of the lip, and I realized I'd see these guys with these badass mustaches, and I'm like, I've never tried to grow a mustache. So I did a little research on beards and mustaches and found out that it's much more complicated to maintain a beard than it is to shave. People just don't realize it until you really try to grow one. This isn't just like I'm letting it grow out. I actually have to deal with the stray hairs and try to straighten it and use beard wax, which I usually don't when I make videos. It's not, I come in disheveled, but I'd like to have a nice mustache. Here's the trick though. You have to make it through that first couple weeks, which is itchy, and after that it seems to be okay, and then about a month in or so it gets itchy again. It's like that secondary itch after the hairs start to curl back around, but that eventually goes away. So the true measure of a man's beard is whether you can get past that. And I was never able to grow a full beard as a kid, so I always had a goatee. And even when I was like 19, I had a goatee just here, and it was even longer than my beard. It was a really long goatee. I had it tied up and stuff, but that was cool in the 90s. It's not anymore. I ain't ripping on goatees or anything, but I look so funny in the pictures I find like that. So I hope that answered your question. This one's from incoherent commentary. I thought it was community for the longest time until I really looked closer. And a lot of the names of my subscribers are that way. I see what I want to see, or maybe what I think I see. Incoherent community sounded funny to me. Anyway, he says, what are your thoughts on being court mandated to 12-step meetings? And what is your opinion on the entire 12-step program? I find it appalling that anyone is ever forced into an AA meeting or obligated to go to such a thing. And I'll try to explain this in a respectful way, because there are a lot of people out there who AA helps and NA helps. I know people who have been helped by NA and AA. I have a close friend who went through some serious shit with pills and alcohol for a while. And then a while back, as a gift for like my birthday, he gave me an NA book. And I told him it would make good firewood. And he was offended, He's like, I'll take it back, And I was like, well, you can, because honestly, I find this offensive that you gave it to me, okay? I find it offensive you're even trying to even suggest that I have a problem with narcotics, because, I don't take narcotics, and I don't drink alcohol. But the idea of a 12-step program is supposed to help people in addiction. The thing is, it doesn't. It focuses on drugs, substances. They don't talk about shopping. They don't talk about people who risk their life in like extreme sports for the adrenaline rush. A person may see somebody out there base jumping and think, wow, that guy's out there getting out there and doing stuff. But what's the reality? The person's risking his life for a high, okay? However you want to put it, the guy who's sitting at home smoking a joint and the guy who's base jumping are both after an altering of their reality. And just the placebo effect can be enough for some people. If you've taken psychedelics and then you plan on taking them one night and you know what to expect, and you end up not, you might put yourself into that state where you're kind of feeling like you've taken it. And that's just like the rush you get from shopping or from jumping or parachuting or anything like that. totally not a justification, but just saying that 12-step meetings, and here's the problem I had with it. I was forced to go. I smoked pot. I got busted for growing weed when I was 20, and I had to go on 2 years of probation. Refused to be clean for the UAs, the piss tests. Pissed dirty every time for THC, and basically told my PO, I don't care, I smoke pot and nobody should be able to tell me I can't. And finally towards the end she's like, look, I just want to get you out of here. You seem like a good person, you know, if you can just stay clean for 5 months, you know, I'll let you off probation. I mean, she could have sent me to prison. I mean, she was really cool about it. We sat and had an argument for like a half hour about whether or not pot was bad, and she kept trying to justify how, oh, well, it's, you know, it's damaging because the cartels do this. And I'm like, that's why we need to grow our own. And by the end, I had her upset, you know. And I was like, look, I'm just speaking how I feel. Anyway, I was forced to go to these programs. And here's the one thing about court-mandated AA programs everybody needs to know. You don't have to go. You can go to one meeting, get a signature, and then forge that signature every time. Because here's the key to AA. It's anonymous. Your probation officer cannot call up the AA center and say, hey, can I speak with Bob Jones, and say, hey, was Josh Orr there? It doesn't work that way. So I found out quickly that I could go to one or two and then just bullshit the rest of the signatures out, and that's what I did. But during the times when I did go, I found it to be a room full of boring, bummed out people giving great war stories about all the fun times they had when they were drunk, meanwhile smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee the whole time. More drugs. And I feel like they set themselves up. It's not, and I'm not saying for everyone, I'm just saying for me, this is the one biggest issue I had, was getting past number one, the first step. And that's what kept me away, which was to admit that, I think it was step one, to admit that you have a problem and that you cannot fix it yourself. That only a power beyond yourself can help you out of that, a higher power. As a non-religious person, I was very opposed to believing that. I was very opposed to saying, basically, it told me, you don't have the power to fix yourself. You need to ask for external sources. And maybe that's true for some people, but not for everybody, and it wasn't for me. I knew myself, and I thought it was silly that I had to admit that. So I realized years later, that maybe it was my battling against the idea of God, but then I even thought more clearly and realized, no, it wasn't. It was the battling against me thinking that I didn't have the power. And if you admitting you are powerless is complete bullshit. It just pisses me off. I don't know how else to put it. AA sucks. I don't like it. So I have a few more questions here. The next one's from Psychonaut Central. It says, hey Carpo, hope you're well. Have you ever ingested large amounts of raw hash, 1 to 5 grams? Have you read The Hashish Eater? And finally, what strength of nicotine do you vape? Cheers. Okay. No, I've never ingested large amounts of hash. Have never even eaten large amounts of pot. The most I've ever eaten were, you know, a few heavy treats that knocked me out. I fell asleep and woke up with palsy in my arm where I lost my radial nerve, got pinched, and I couldn't hold my arm up for like 2 weeks. But that was only in recent years. But I have access to pretty much endless supply of cannabis, and I still rarely eat it. And I have all kinds of tinctures. I mean, I've got all these, like, you know, these hash tinctures that I made, these glycerin hash tinctures. I got a bunch of bottles. I've just been giving them away because I don't sell them and I won't take them. What it is that I like to control my buzz. I like to smoke cannabis and cut cannabis flower. I don't even smoke hash really. Because I like to be able to know that I can take a toke or two, it'll hit me right away, and it'll be gone in an hour or so. And when I eat cannabis, it's going to take 2 hours to hit me, and I'm going to be high all day. But as for the experience, the psychedelic, like 1 to 5 gram hash experience is something that I really don't have any desire to try. I think that's too much for me. And I have other means. It may be a good means of an exploration for people who have no other means, but with all these psychedelics available at our hands, I think that that would be the best bet for me. As far as the question, I haven't read The Hashish Eater, no. I'll have to check it out. And finally, what strength of nicotine do you use? I vape, right now, I actually vape about 3 to 5%, but it varies. I order this This is what I got last time. It's always different, but this is zero nic. It's a nicotine-less blue raspberry candy flavored. It was like $10 for 100 milliliters. And then I buy this Pacific Northwest stuff at 18 to 24 milligrams in the smaller bottles of the fancier stuff. And I mix the 24 milligram into my chamber as I vape to try to get various. So generally I'll get about between 3 and 6 milligrams is my thing. Sometimes up to 12 if I just want to be able to take a quick puff. But what it comes down to is for a while I like to vape, and I like to vape a lot, but I didn't want the nicotine. And nowadays I realize that I do want a little more nicotine, so I don't vape as often. So I have a whole bunch of varieties of different kinds I try, but you know, I don't have anything I stick with. Oh, and then Psychonaut says, one more question. What are your opinions on conspiracy theories and aliens? Oh my god. Dude, I'm gonna have to come back to this one in the next video because this is 20 minutes already. And what happens is if I upload a video that's longer than 23 minutes or something, the gigabyte, because it's high def, it's like 3 gigs. My camera cuts it into 2 videos, and I don't have a way to put them together. So, I have 1, 2, 3 more questions, and I'm gonna answer them on the next video. So I'll